Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We are just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. And today, Noah, this is an exciting one. We're talking about Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
That is correct. The long-awaited sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, following an older but not so much wiser Cal Kestis.
Man, that seems pretty brutal. You're just slamming him for no reason. I felt like he was
I would like to
wiser.
call it foreshadowing.
What, that he's not wiser?
Yes.
Oh, I feel like he's a decent amount. I don't know. Whatever. We'll talk about it, I guess. I don't know. I feel like Kel's a pretty cool guy, and you're just out here slamming him. So anyway, let's talk
Yeah,
about
we'll talk about it.
let's talk about Star Wars. Star Wars initially came out in 1977, created by George Lucas. Incredible popularity, followed by a sequel in 1980 called Empire Strikes Back, and then another sequel in 1983 called Return of the Jedi. There was also a Christmas special, but nobody really likes to talk about that. And then, created this worldwide phenomenon. There were books, there were comics, there were video games, there were other stuff. And in 2018, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order came out, right? I think that was 2018. And it was, I mean, Noah, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the first like single player Star Wars game to come out since probably The Force Unleashed 2. Is that correct? Jedi Fallen Order was?
I think so.
Because I think at that point both of the Battlefront games had come out. Or did Fallen Order come before Battlefront 2?
I'm pretty sure they both came out.
Anyway, because I guess Battlefront 2 did have a story, a single player story. I heard mixed things about that, but
It was horrible.
Fallen Order, the Fallen Order was, you know, basically the first time in a while, the first single player dedicated Star Wars game, which for me, Jaden, someone who hates multiplayer and loves single player game experiences, I loved it. I was super excited about it. And I think it's safe to say that Fallen Order kind of really reignited in me a love of Star Wars and Star Wars lore. I can't even say reignited, really. I would say just ignited, because before Fallen Order, I was not really that into Star Wars. Noah, I think were definitely in it a lot more than I have, because you had read a lot of the books, and especially kind of the Old Republic era you were highly knowledgeable about. And I just never cared. But yeah, like Fallen Order just really was a great game, really made Star Wars much, I guess, bigger interest of mine. Anyway, that's Fallen Order, the game we're not talking about. 5 years after Fallen Order came out, as Noah said, the highly anticipated sequel, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, was released, building upon the first game, and I am here for it, Noah.
100%. I mean, Jedi Fallen Order was obviously far more successful than any other Star Wars game. The uh, publisher EA had released, because every other Star Wars game produced by them was from DICE and just very poorly received. And in my opinion, literally three of the worst Star Wars games to ever exist. But that's another story.
Well, I will
Star Wars
say,
Jedi Fallen
I,
Order really revived, the fans' hope for great Star Wars games in the future.
yeah, and I will say, just to give Dice a bit of credit, um, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is considered by the general public to be good now. It's considered to be actually a pretty good game now, but when it
With the
first released,
mods on PC, they have uh
well, I think even
like
on
all the characters, like a lot of Clone Wars characters, a lot of stuff from like the shows and stuff that have come out since then. But I thought the base game, like even like how it ended up, it was still nowhere near as good as the classic games, and that's the baseline.
yeah, but I think in general, consensus is it is, as you said, the base game just itself on, say, consoles is way, way better than when it first released. And I will give them credit for working on it and improving it. That's always a good thing to see developers do in online games, especially. Um, like they didn't just pull a Square Enix Avengers and just quit on it and be like, sorry, that's how it is. Guess we'll just move on and
Did you
whatever.
ever play
It
it?
Avengers or
No,
Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2.
No, I'm speaking specifically just from what I've heard. I've watched a lot of videos of people talking about Battlefront 2.
I've played it a lot, and
Because
it
again,
is not good.
multiplayer is not my thing. Well, that's why I said the general consensus.
Yeah,
I disclaimer, I have no opinion on it. I have never played it, so I was just saying, generally. Anyway, that's also a game we are not talking about. Fallen Survivor. So yeah, as you said, easily I think the best Star Wars games released. Basically since the Disney purchase of Lucas Films,
100%.
LucasArts, and it was very great to see that, especially because um, I feel like at least when Fallen Order came out, single player games were very much seem like were kind of on the outs to a lot of developers, a lot of publishers, the bigger ones especially. Like, oh, single player games aren't as profitable as multiplayer games, and some developers were kind of seem to be going away from doing single player experiences. I mean, Call of Duty with I believe it was Black Ops 4 was, completely cut out a campaign. So it's like, you have all these I don't know if you would say, I guess, philosophical battles in the gaming world of developers and publishers not thinking that single player experiences are worth the time and money involved. And I think it's always great to see a game like Fallen Order being so successful because it's showing those developers and those publishers, hey guys, like single player experiences can absolutely make you money and garner popularity if you do them well, as Respawn did. Because Respawn also, I mean, they're a multiplayer gaming juggernaut. Like we haven't even mentioned Respawn really with uh Titanfall, which I guess that one, ironically, multiplayer focus was not successful, and Apex
It
Legends,
still
which
has a
is
cult
incredibly
following,
successful. It has a cult following,
and
but
Apex is huge.
yet even seeing, hey, single player games can absolutely be successful. I think Survivor also continued that. I think it has been very successful for them so far.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so that was a great introduction where 10% of it, probably less, really was about the game we're actually talking about. Let's get into the game, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, with the setting. So, Jedi Survivor takes place in the Star Wars universe.
Whoa,
We've talked about what,
you mean a
yeah, we've talked
galaxy
about,
far, far away?
that is correct. Yeah, we've talked about a decent amount of Star Wars games. So we are back here. So, as Cal Kestis, you traverse several planets. List them here. You Kobo, the shattered moon of Kobo. I don't think it's ever given like an actual name. Jeddah, Coruscant, Nova Garen, which is I think it's honestly like on an asteroid as an Imperial base, and Tanalorr, which I put on here because you do go there, but it is just kind of the place you go at the end. It's not necessarily a big explorable planet like the rest.
No, you 100% it just by going there.
Yeah. So this is where I kind of uh, I guess you talk about the map of Jedi Fallen Order, of sorry, Jedi Survivor, and this honestly is a part of the game that I feel like did not improve for me. And it's actually funny. I looked it up just before we recorded this because I didn't want to say something wrong, because God forbid we do that. And actually, if you count Tanalorr, it's actually the same amount of planets that you go to in these games, but in terms of feeling, I guess, when I played this game, in Fallen Order, I felt like you were going all over the galaxy. You go to this planet, then you go to this planet, then you go back to this planet, and then over to this planet, and it just felt like you were really exploring the Star Wars universe. And I thought that was one of my favorite parts about that game. In Survivor, you spend a very large portion of your time on, I guess you would say, Kobo, Jeddah, and then you're on the Shattered Moon. I think you go there twice for the story, maybe 3 times. And then like Coruscant is basically I think it's basically just there for fan service. And
100%. I mean,
yeah, like
you
there's a
know,
very small area to explore, basically just a straight path through this planet, and then that's it. And
I will
Nova
say
Garen is the
the
same way. And the
noteworthy
Shat, yep.
difference
Uh-huh.
between the two games is that in the first game, you go to iconic Star Wars planets such as Kashyyyk and Dathomir, and then in this game, none of the planets are iconic. They're all newish.
See, I don't have a problem with them being newish. I actually like
I have a problem
exploring
with
new
it.
planets. Oh, I actually like
You can
exploring new
always have
planets.
new planets, but there's
Mhm.
literally no iconic Star Wars planets except for Coruscant, which I don't really count. It's the very first one. It's not very open, and it's the only one.
Yeah, I think I like the new planets. The only issue I have with Fallen Order is I feel like Fallen Order actually did because I was trying to think of a game to compare it to. I guess serious. I think and I keep saying Fallen Order. God damn it, we're talking about surviving. So Fallen Order, it felt like again, I guess technically there weren't, but it felt like there were more areas that were a little bit smaller. Whereas in Survivor, Kobo is your main planet, and the map for Kobo is goddamn huge, absolutely huge. And then all the other planets, in comparison, are a lot smaller. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with them being smaller. Uh, but it seems like it went kind of that way of main map, large main map, and smaller kind of side maps. Did you get what I'm saying? No. Anyway, let's
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. It just makes you feel like you spend most of your time in the same place.
yeah, because I mean it's basically like you're on Kobo, you go to Jeddah, then you go back to Kobo, then you go to maybe the Shadow Moon, then you go back to Kobo, and then
Well,
yeah,
we're
that's
about to
just like
talk about how much you
yeah,
go back and forth.
yeah. Um, anyway, that's just it just feels a lot less kind of. It feels a lot more like you're just in the same place, which I I
I mean, the
guess if you
first
like
game
that,
was
cool.
like that, but when you would go to Dathomir and then go do whatever in the story in the first game, it didn't feel like you were just like going back and forth all the time for no reason. But in
Yeah,
this game, it's like, all right, back to Kobo, back to Jeddah, back to the Shatter Moon, back to this place, back to, you know,
yeah,
just didn't make sense.
yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move past that. We're gonna get into the story. 5 years after destroying the Jedi holocron that you spend the entire first game trying to get, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis has parted ways with Seer Junda, Greasedritus, and Marin to continue his battle against the Empire as a resistance fighter working under Saw Gerrera. His latest mission has him teaming up with his mercenary friend, who I feel like disclaimer to this description I'm reading. This is how they met. They were not friends before this.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Uh, mercenary friend Bode Akuna to infiltrate the Imperial capital world of Coruscant and steal valuable military data.
I just like his name. I think it rolls off the tongue.
Bode?
Bodakuna.
Oh man, I honestly cannot disagree with you more. I think his name is stupid.
No way.
Um,
I love his
every
name.
like every time there's these serious moments and someone's like, "What do you think, Bode?" And I'm like, "Well, I
Bode
just
is
can't."
stupid. You have to say his full name.
Oh, you have to say. Well, they don't in the story, so it really,
I
I
do
guess,
every
loses
time
the
I talk
course.
about him.
Yeah. Okay, that's
I
fair. That's
said
fair.
Bodakuna.
That's
They should
fair.
have just called him Akuna. It made
Akuna
me think
Matata.
Akuna Matata, exactly.
Anyway, um, the Ninth Sister, remember her from the first game, arrives to confront Cal, having survived her defeat on Kashyyyk. Cal is able to retrieve the data and kill the Ninth Sister, but the rest of the infiltration team is killed, leaving Cal and Bode as the only survivors. Cal is disheartened to learn from the data that despite all his efforts, the Empire has only become more powerful, expanding its reach farther throughout the galaxy.
Like he hasn't even seen the movies.
It's like he hasn't even seen the movies. With the Stinger Mantis damaged during his escape from Coruscant, Cal decides to seek out Grease on the remote planet of Kobo, where he finds the local population menaced by a criminal organization called the Bedlam Raiders. led by an armored Gendai named Ravis. Grease directs him to a cave containing the parts needed to repair the Mantis, and while exploring, Cal comes across ZNA-4, or Z, a droid that served the Jedi Order during the High Republic era. Z gives Cal a High Republic tuner device and tells him she was ordered to activate a device called the Forest Array hundreds of years ago, but became trapped in the caves. Traveling to the array, Cal senses Force visions of two High Republic Jedi, Dagan Gera and Centauri Kree, who discovered the mythical planet of Tanalorr, hidden behind the supposedly impassable Kobo Abyss Nebula. Cal activates the array and discovers Dagan suspended in a Bacta tank. Cal frees Dagan in hopes of recruiting a fellow Jedi, but discovers that Dagan has fallen to the dark side of the Force, angry at the Jedi Order for having abandoned Tanalorr. Dagan fights Cal before escaping with the help of Ravis and the Bedlam Raiders. Realizing the value of a planet inaccessible to the Empire, Cal, Bode, and Grease repair the Stinger Mantis and head to the planet Jedha, where Seer has been working with Marin and a still-alive Eno Cordova, remember him from the first game, to rebuild the Jedi archives with
Master
the help
Cordova.
Master Cordova to rebuild the Jedi archives with the help of a resistance organization called the Hidden Path. Seer and Cordova use the archives to research Kobo and Tanalorr, and Cordova explains that Dagan was the first and only pilot who managed to find a path through the Kobo Abyss. Kree developed special compasses to navigate it, and the Republic then established a settlement and Jedi temple on Tanalorr. However, a pirate syndicate known as the Nihil assaulted Tanalorr, causing the Republic to withdraw from the planet and destroy the compasses to keep them from using it. Dagan became obsessed with Tanalorr, believing it was his by right, and Creed trapped him in the Bacta tank where Cal found him. However, Cordova notes that 3 compasses are still unaccounted for. Cal, Marin, Bode, and Grease decide to search for them. Bode wishes to find a refuge for his young daughter, Kata, while Marin believes that Tanalorr could be used by the Hidden Path. During their journey, Cal and Marin confess their feelings for each other and decide to pursue a relationship.
Woo!
Woo! 2 compasses are unsalvageable, but after Cal defeats and kills Ravis and Dagan, they discover one that Cordova is able to repair. Bode then steals it, murdering Cordova in the process. Cal tries to stop Bode from escaping. Bode defeats him, revealing himself as not only an Imperial spy, but a former Jedi who has since fallen to the dark side. What? Meanwhile, the Empire assaults the archives, and Seer is killed while holding off Darth Vader to buy time for the Hidden Path to escape. Furious at Bode's betrayal, Cal uses a locator beacon to track his location to the Nova Garon system. There, they discover an Imperial Security Bureau (ISB) base commanded by Lank Denvik and infiltrate it. Cal eventually confronts Bode, who reveals that he worked in intelligence for the Jedi Order during the Clone Wars, but disappeared when the Jedi Purge began. After his wife was killed by Inquisitors, Bode made a deal with Denvik to work for the ISB as a spy in exchange for keeping him and his daughter hidden from Vader. Revealing that he lured Cal to Nova Garon in order to create a distraction and hoping to be free of the ISB on Tanalorr, Bode escapes with Kata and the compass. Cal chooses to embrace his own inner darkness to escape the Imperial garrison, though he stops himself from succumbing fully by sparing Denvik after Marin talks him down. But Cal recovers a recording left behind by Kree, explaining that the arrays on Kobo can be used to open an alternate path through the Kobo Abyss. After arriving on Tanalorr, Cal, Marin, and Kata all attempt to convince Bode to back down, but he refuses and attacks them until Cal is forced to kill Bode. Afterward, they hold a Jedi funeral for Seer, Cordova, and Bode to mourn their passing. With the planet now under their control, Cal, Marin, and Grease decide to adopt Kata and plan to make contact with the Hidden Path and relocate them to Tanalorr.
A lot of
And
weird
that's the
stuff going
story.
on here.
And that's the story.
First of all, I did want to point this out. In the
Mhm.
first game, Cal did not really, when he won a lot of his fights, he kind of like, it was a draw and he runs away, like against a lot of the Inquisitors and whatnot. In this game, when Cal beats somebody in a fight, he then decapitates them. 9
He
times out
does
of
like
10.
doing that. He does like doing that.
And I was like, Jesus, this Cal is dark. He decapitates the ninth sister. It sounds like he's giving her a speech like, hey, you should turn back to the light side. right
Well,
before he
yeah.
cuts her head off.
Well,
And
I mean, she
then,
refuses and attacks him again. That's like, it's not
well, it
like
just doesn't
he
make any
said that and
sense.
then, I
I
mean, it
think
makes
it's,
sense because she refused.
I think it's, but everybody does.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like the Jedi from the High Republic era, he's still mad. It's not the same Jedi Order, buddy. The Jedi Order is gone. We could build our own. You don't have to be hateful.
Yeah,
Uh,
but he is, so Cal has
his
to kill him.
his dude, the Ravis, we beat him, and it's like, hey, I bested you in combat. That's why you follow Dagan Gera. Why not follow me? And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to die. Like, okay, sure. Then Bode, we catch up with him and we're like, Bode, we're gonna give you another chance, even though you killed a bunch of people and betrayed us. And your daughter right here says you should also listen to us. And he's like, no, I'm evil. It's just
No,
bad writing
no,
to me. I'm like, why are all
no.
these people evil? Their motivation makes no sense.
I'm gonna kind of go point by point here, just with what I want to talk about the story.
That's fair.
I do sort of agree with you that it's funny because I do kind of think it's annoying that Cal is always trying to be peaceful and hey, let's we can work together, man. Hey, let's stop fighting. Hey, let's do this. But equally as annoying is the fact that it literally has never worked once, ever.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Um,
It just makes
so
me upset because every time they introduce somebody, I'm like, oh, finally, a
so let's
new
talk about
Jedi friend.
yeah, it never works out that way. Didn't work out with Terran Malicos, didn't work out with Dagan Gera, did not work out with Bode Akuna.
Exactly.
Well, first off, I want to say the introduction of Dagon as being like, oh, he's still alive 200 years later in a Bacta tank. Uh, let me tell you, I was real annoyed with that one.
I was amazed the robot was was still working after all that time.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this droid has survived hundreds of years, and then there was literally a Jedi that just gets out of a bacta tank, and he's like, how long has it been? I'm
Yeah.
like, you shouldn't be
That's
alive.
also funny. I thought Z was going to be a much bigger character in the story than she was.
Yeah, they
Um,
built it up a lot. To me, I almost read this as Disney pushing like, hey, we're trying to make the High Republic a thing, put it somewhere in the game.
it does kind of seem like it's pretty shoehorned. I mean, the fact that Ravis is hundreds of years old, I guess he's kind of mostly robot at this
Does not
point,
make
but
any sense because
yeah,
he's
that's weird because
introduced
he's
as like a gang lord on Kobo.
yeah, but then turns out the whole time he was working for Dagon. Yeah, bringing him back like this 200-year-old guy just made me think, hey, Respawn, look, I know, times are tough. There's not a lot of Jedi left because the Purge view to make evil, but you could really bring in a guy back from 200 years ago and who instantly turns evil.
I
Like you
mean, if we're
literally watch
comparing
him turn
stories,
his kyber crystal red, which let me tell you, watching the kyber crystal turn red, very cool scene.
that's the only
But
time that scene's ever been in any
yeah,
show
I
or
know, it's
anything
really
like that.
cool.
It's really cool to
Yeah, it's really
see.
cool to see. But yeah, it's crazy that that's it. Like he just shows up and he's evil. Cal and Marin get together, love it, ship it, move on. Woo. Yeah, best part of the game. Let me tell you, Bode's betrayal. I told you about this, Noah, when it happened. I was not happy about it. Him being revealed as a Jedi was even more annoying. I feel like him killing Cordova was insanely pointless. I feel like the death added nothing. I feel like Cordova was not really important enough for it to matter. But also, like, what, why'd you have to kill him? Yeah, he just went out like a bitch.
Yep.
And then Seer's death. Of course, I'm not happy about it, but a very, very beautiful scene in the game. I actually really, I think the death was executed very, very well, and the like emotion of it with Cal finding her body and his just cries of anguish, I thought was very, very well done.
Yes. I was gonna say, as far as the introduction of like, more surprising secret Jedi, I think Bo Dakuna's backstory is very well done actually, because I liked the idea of Jedi who were undercover and working in like recon or as a spy in the Clone Wars because
I did think
w
that was interesting as well.
yes, when the Clone Wars became the Empire, a lot of the generals became Grand Moffs. So it makes sense for like Denvik and Bode to have had a relationship in the Clone Wars that kind of transcends the Empire, because that's a lot like, when you watch the Clone Wars or read anything about it, there's some stuff with Anakin and Grand Moff Tarkin, and they kind of like have this friendship where they're both a little darker than the Jedi like to be, and it's
Yeah,
foreshadows where they end up in the Empire. And
yeah,
I like that. I think that's really cool.
I agree with you. I do think that's cool as well. Like you said, Grand Moff Tarkin and Grand Admiral Thrawn, guys who were generals in the Republic Army that are now evil and going along with the Empire. It certainly adds more like realism, as you would say, to
Right.
the the kind of creation of the Empire.
Yeah.
Like,
And when
oh
comparing
yeah,
that to a dude who existed hundreds of years ago but was in a Bacta tank for some reason and somehow survived all this time for why? Like
yeah,
why was
it's
that
certainly
set up?
a lot better. I also think I feel like in my preferred ending of the game, they are able to convince Bo to stand down because Cal's whole
100%. I think it would have been a lot
trying
better.
to yeah, Cal's whole trying to like plead with people and end things peacefully has not worked once. I guess arguably you could say the only person it worked on is Marin. But even then, I feel like Terran Malicos was really the glue that brought that relationship together. So yeah, it's just weird that like it never works, and I thought for Bode it would really make sense to work with him, but it doesn't, of course.
Yeah, there's like
Um,
5 different times where Cal's like, maybe we could work something out here. And
yeah,
absolutely no reason, Bode is like, no, this isn't gonna work. It's me or nobody on this planet.
yeah, basically. Also, my last little comment about the story, I feel like Cal's kind of struggle with the dark side was well executed in this game, because every Jedi Master of note has to struggle with the dark side at some point to become a master. So I would imagine, assuming if they did make a third game, make this a full on trilogy, I would imagine that they would kind of delve deeper into that and have it become more of a struggle because, again, every Jedi Master worth their salt has had struggles with the dark side, and
That's true. They could take it that route, or they could do a thing where it's like he becomes a gray Jedi who uses like the light and dark side of the Force.
that is also possible. Yes. Anyway, yeah, that's the story. Overall, I did like it. I did like it. It was enjoyable.
It's a great
Um,
middle part of a trilogy, which is what it's supposed to be.
yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Noah, why don't
But-
you tell us about the gameplay?
So, I mean, the gameplay is pretty much, identical to the first game, just with some great additions. So, again, it is fun, fast-paced Star Wars Jedi combat. I mean, it sucks you right in, and you just have a fun time with it the whole way through. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a 3D action-adventure game. A vast majority of gameplay involves mixing your lightsaber and force abilities to take down enemies. Cal has a standard light attack, as well as a force-using heavy attack. Cal can also block and parry and dodge opponent attacks, reducing their block meter while keeping watch that his own block meter does not run out, so he's kind of like stunned for a second. Yeah, these are the basics of combat pretty much. The way the game is set up, obviously, I will say this, much like the first game, it's reminiscent of the Soulsborne series, from Software, and how they kind of do their bonfires, their healing items, their Metroidvania style of unlocking areas with abilities later on in the story. Enemies
Yeah,
reset when
and
you rest, those kind of
yeah,
things.
yeah, and as someone who has finally actually played a From Software game, very similar. Yeah, I can actually attest to that.
You can see that, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's funny
um,
because the one you've played is not Souls or Born.
that is both of those things are true.
So in this game, Cal Kestis has, like the first game, different lightsaber stances. He's got the single, just one blade, the double blade, the staff saber, a dual wield where he splits it into 2 individual sabers, and then at some point, Bo Dakuna gives Cal a blaster, and it's a blaster stance where he has a blaster in his left hand and a single saber in the right. And then at another point, he defeats a guy, a random dude, who has technology for him, and he's like, "Oh wow, I can use this." And he makes a crossguard saber, which is basically the saber that Kylo Ren uses in the third trilogy. Each stance has different bonuses, drawbacks, abilities, skill trees, and whatnot. So those are the stances. Like I said, they each have different bonuses and drawbacks. The single and double bladed are pretty much the same from the first game, and I never used the single, I'm gonna be honest. As soon as I had the other stances, the single never saw any time in my game. I also never used the crossguard. I switched between double blade, dual wield, and blaster. Blaster, I liked it in theory, but for some reason in my head, when I heard that there was a blaster stance, I assumed he would not also use a lightsaber at the same time.
That's a bold assumption.
I know, I don't know why I assumed that. But to me, like when I found out he was using a lightsaber also, I'm like, then it's not a blaster stance, it's a lightsaber stance with a blaster.
I don't know. I think, I mean, it makes
But
sense calling it the blaster stance because he's holding a blaster.
yeah, but the blaster has to me, a very small part of the stance.
I, I would say it replaces your heavy attack,
Yeah, but
and it allows you to have a good range for your
I
ranged
don't know.
attacks.
I
I
just
think it's
did
very
not
different.
like how it was done. It
I
was
mean, let me
also
tell you,
given ammo
I did not use the blaster except for when I needed to for trophies.
for that
I
trophy.
actually, yeah, I never used the blaster. I didn't think there was anything particularly wrong with it. I just never used it myself. Um,
That
no,
makes
let me
sense.
tell you,
I will say that just like the first game, the actual choreography of all the hits in each stance are very unique.
very
A-
cool.
And the blaster stance is reminiscent of Count Dooku's style of lightsaber combat.
I was
Very
gonna comment on that as
fencing
well. It's
like.
very yeah, I was gonna make that exact same comment. I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, it's very fencing, like proper
Well,
combat
that's one of the
stance.
forms of Jedi combat. I will say,
Um,
Respawn does their homework.
they do. No, let me tell you the two stances that I used more than any other. The double bladed and the cross guard.
What?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, all the stances have their bonuses and drawbacks. The cross guard is basically like using a two-handed weapon. The swings are very, very, very slow. I would argue a bit too slow
Way too
and
slow.
heavy, but they deal by far the most damage. And the double bladed, on contrary, is a lot faster. The only issue I have with the double bladed is Cal cannot block cancel out of attacks. If you start an attack animation, you are stuck in that animation until it ends or he gets hit, which is kind of annoying because the double blade, the staff, even though it's said that it is meant to that it has fat, like because speed and power like stats are shown when you're selecting your stances. Even though the speed for that one is very high and you do hit a lot in a short amount of time with it, your actual attack animations are very long. And even though like each animation does include like several hits in it because you swing the blade, you're gonna hit someone twice because you have the two blades. The animations are long, and I found myself frustratingly getting hit a lot because I'm stuck in attack animations with the double bladed lightsaber. But overall, I still thought its combos were very good, and if you can actually get a combo built up with it and get all those hits, especially against bosses like when I fought Bode and when I fought Dagon. I thought they were both very, very good. Um, I'm sorry, the double blade was just very good for that, especially for building up someone's block meter because you do so many hits back to back to back to back. It was good for that. None of these are bad. I do want to say none of the stances are bad. I think they are all good. The blaster is probably my least favorite, but kind of as you said, the second you got stances other than the single blade, you never use the single blade again. And I honestly did the same thing. But I thought the single blade stance was still very, very well done.
Yeah,
I
it's still
just
a fully
yeah,
fleshed out stance. I just
yeah,
did not use
it's
it.
really good and fun to use, but yeah, I just did not use it. Yeah, the cross guard. I think this kind of comes to me. I feel like from playing Sekiro. If I had played this game having never played Sekiro, I would probably be the same. But the first time I played through Jedi Fallen Order, I really struggled with parrying, with the timing needed for parrying. I was not good at it. In this game, I'm gonna thank Sekiro for this. I'm pretty good at it now. Getting the timing and stuff,
After
parrying.
playing Sekiro, other games parrying is usually pretty easy.
Yeah, and the cross guard, I feel like, in terms of how I did it, was basically it was a very defensive stance where, in Sekiro, Noah, you can attest to this. Basically, you're if you want to be successful in that game, you need to prioritize defense and attack when you have a window to do so, which a lot of enemies do
Exactly.
not leave very long windows. So you're basically guarding a lot. And that basically is how Fallen Order works a lot of times, especially with bosses, where they will just do combo after combo after combo. And unless you break their block meter, you have very short instances where you can actually attack back. And again, like with double bladed, I would always get trapped in my attack animations and that wouldn't work. But with the cross guard, because the attacks are so slow, you will never get more than one hit in. Very rarely will you. But the attacks do so much damage, like easily probably double the damage of any other stance, that I don't know, I just really found myself getting into that groove of blocking, and then getting a hit in, doing a decent amount of damage, and then just blocking and blocking and blocking. For some reason, that play style really just resonated with me, and that's what I did a lot.
That makes sense. I did want to mention the dual wield. The dual wield has a couple cool things that I really like. First of all, it's fast, it's light hits. It's probably the weakest in terms of
Yeah,
damage.
I think so.
And I did want to point out a couple of cool things about it. Every time you block, Cal switches hands, the one that he's blocking with. I
Oh, that's
think
cool. I
that's
didn't
really
notice that.
cool. Yep, every time you hit L1, he'll pull up the other hand. Um, then there's the fact that the force move for dual wield is Cal stands still, closes his eyes, and holds up both lightsabers, turns them off with the force. It's a really cool looking stance, and he just waits for his enemy to attack and then instantly deflects it and counterattacks it if you have the skill.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is a very cool I guess move you would call it. I absolutely love that
yeah,
as well. It
yeah,
looks
I just thought
cool
it
and
was
it
like
is
looks
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, who does this guy think he is? Hey, we're fighting. Why are you
Yeah.
meditating? Uh, anyway, the other side
Yeah,
of
no, very
combat,
cool.
Jaden,
The other side of combat, the force powers.
the force powers,
Um, so you've got force push, force pull, lightsaber throw, confusion, which basically is like
mind
um,
trick.
yeah, mind trick. It makes enemies fight for you. Oh, those were all returning powers, I believe. Um, and then you have your new powers in this game: lift and slam. And then you also have slow, which is like your ultimate power. You press once you have to fill up a meter, you activate it, and then enemies are slowed down for a time. Is that a returning power?
I believe he had
Because I
some kind
thought
of ultimate like that in the first game. I
like
can't
I
remember.
I know he had slow in the first game, but
Oh
uh,
no, it was like a light
wasn't it just like a
ability.
normal force
Yeah,
power? Yeah, it would just like affect an enemy. Yeah.
you could slow
So
individual enemies.
yeah, I don't know why that's kind of become, I guess, his token thing is slowing people. I actually liked it as an ultimate attack. I used it all the time. I did like it, but I did think it was kind of weird that that's his ultimate attack. Although once you embrace your darkness, it slows down enemies. Your lightsaber turns
It's
red, and you
way
just
better.
slaughter people. Awesome ability. When you get that kind of
Yeah, there's
upgrade
a
for
lot
it.
of stuff with the force powers. I'll talk about that in a second when you use the
Yep.
dark ultimate. I wanted to
Yep.
mention confusion.
Uh huh.
It's the only one that I don't like out of this whole list. I mean, all the other force powers are fine. They have their uses, but confusion, I felt like was limited by it doesn't work on a lot of enemies.
Well, you have to upgrade it. It's something
I
I
know,
discovered very late
I
game.
know. but you don't really get enough upgrade stuff throughout just the main story to
Yeah, I certainly didn't
become that
prioritize
powerful.
upgrading it because you are right. It is very limited initially, and I did basically never use it.
Right. So the Dark Ultimate, I did want to say I've seen a lot of really cool just like details about it. Like when you use his ultimate where he's like in the dark side at the end of the game, the force effects of the powers will change. Like if you force pull one of the robots, like oh, what are they called? They're humanoid and they have some of them have stun batons.
Yeah, those are security droids.
Okay. When you force pull those when you're using that ultimate, Cal will pull them right in front of him and then he crushes them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's something he doesn't do. When you use mind trick on a on anybody in that ultimate, they just die.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like they sort of
I'll be
scream in
honest.
terror and claw at their head and then collapse.
Wow, I'll be honest. I didn't even know you could use force powers in that stance. I was always just
Yes,
smashing
yes,
my
they have
lightsaber
like
attacks.
different effects and stuff like that. I know I would match the lightsaber attacks too, until I was fighting a bunch of purge troopers and they
Yep,
block still in that mode. But the
they
force
do.
powers overrule that. If you use pull, it's just like when you pull a regular stormtrooper and you'll pull them up and just impale them, and then it's like next, next,
Oh,
next.
wow. Yeah, that is cool. I
Yep,
did not know that.
yep, yep, yep.
Um,
So it was way more useful to do that than just mash the lightsaber attacks.
yep. I did also want to just say about the force powers. And this does apply with traversal as well. One thing I absolutely applaud Jedi Survivor for doing, which is something Psychonauts 2 did, and is something that we talk about a bit, is all of the powers, both for combat and traversal in Jedi Fallen Order, that you unlock throughout the game, you automatically have in Jedi Survivor. You don't have to relearn them or anything. Um, just as you're going through the kind of prologue, every like few, I mean, it felt like every just couple of minutes, I was unlocking things constantly. It would just, and I wouldn't even say unlock is the right word. It would just remind you, hey, you can do this, and I like that. You just instantly from the get-go you have all those powers you learn in the first game,
Yeah,
so it's like you're not
100%.
spending time relearning them. And
Like the
yeah,
double
you're
jump.
just, yeah, like you just have it from the get-go, and so you already feel like you're continuing his story, not even just from the story aspect, but even the gameplay aspect of it as well, of already having all of those abilities. So yeah, very cool.
Jedi Survivor also introduces companions. It allows you to fight with allies. You can command these allies to attack enemies, dealing damage and stunning them for a short time. The two allies that are used in the game are Bode Akuna and Marin.
Yay.
Yeah. I like this idea. I wish they kind of delved into it a little bit more. When they introduced a companion to me, I was like, ooh, we're gonna assemble our party and it'll be like, who do you want to take out with you?
Oh, I did not think it was going to be like that at all.
Well, I thought it would, and I thought that would be really cool, especially for late game stuff. But
um
no, that does not happen. It's only in specific sections, but they are fun. It's nice to have somebody helping you. Kind of a get out of jail free card sometimes.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought, like, I didn't think it would be a kind of main, like, oh, pick your party. I did think it would be in the game more often than it was. I guess I can relate to that. I guess overall for the mechanic itself, I thought it was fine. Like you said, it's very useful, kind of get out of jail free card in combat. I did like it. At first, I was not happy about it because when you first unlock it in the prologue, you're playing with Bode, and he's the one helping you, and I was just like, who the hell is this guy? Like, this guy's actually helping me fight now. I have companions. Like, I wasn't into it at
That's
first,
true.
but
When you first started out, you're like, where's my team? What happened?
yeah, because that is, I guess, one thing I forgot to mention, kind of in my comments about the story, is this game does, I don't know if you would say it's a cliche, but it's certainly something I've seen before, where you have this group of people that are all together, in the first game, and then in the sequel it skips a bunch of time, and oh, they all went their separate ways, and in this game they all get back together again. I kind of didn't like that little.
It's a cliche. I'd say it's a classic plot line.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily like that aspect of it, but it's fine. It's just I when I realized that's kind of how it went in between game stuff, I was just like, oh, they're doing one of these things, huh? Anyway, let's talk about traversal. So, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a semi-open world game. Although I feel like the map of Kobo very much borders on open world because it's just a lot of wide open areas. But whatever, not important. So Cal can run, jump, slide, and dash his way through the many environments found in the game. All platforming abilities from the previous game are unlocked from the start, as kind of said earlier, and the game adds new abilities throughout, starting with a grappling hook early on. I loved the grappling hook.
Yeah, the additions of or how they implement the traversal mechanics in this game to create like obstacle courses and such like that. It's definitely, the base was provided in Fallen Order, but this was a huge step up in terms
Yep,
of using abilities and being able to get from
yep,
point A to point B.
yep.
I mean, like even the small things, like the fact that Cal does not need a second wall to wall jump.
Oh, you can just jump off and jump right back on. I think that's very
Exactly, yeah.
cool.
Really cool.
Um, and very unique. I've never seen that done before in a game. Yeah, so you have your force powers. The Jedi flip, the wall run, those are returning. The force dash is new when you dash in midair, and not necessarily a platforming ability, but ability in the game that I kind of do want to comment on is the mind trick, sort of, where uh, very randomly and sparsely you'll encounter stormtroopers or people you can talk to, and you can use the Jedi mind trick to convince them to let you pass, whatever. And then you can choose one of two dialogue options for basically no reason.
I
They
think
have
it
the same
happens like
outcome.
3 times.
Yeah, it's really weird. It happens on Coruscant very early on, and then doesn't happen. Like for me, didn't happen for probably 18 hours of gameplay to the point where I completely forgot it was even a thing. Yeah, kind of a weird inclusion, but it's there, so yeah. And then you also have your BD1 abilities, slicing and the zip line. And then he gets an electric shot, and I can't remember what the material is called, but the stuff on Kobo, he can shoot that as well. That like
Oh, Kobo gunk.
transfers flames and stuff. Yeah, the Kobo gunk.
I
So
like
I want to
that.
say, the Kobo gunk I felt like was a bit slow using it. It's, a
Oh, I
puzzle
mean,
solving
I
mechanic.
how the mechanics are, give or take, that it's a new thing. I just like
Yeah,
that BD1 is given a
helping more.
role, yeah, like given more to do, basically.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I did want to say that traversal in this game, the platforming aspect of it, is insanely fun. For a game where I would certainly say it's not necessarily meant to be the focus, um, and I mean it is a very large part of the game. But for weird to me to think of a game like this with this giant open world, it's 3D, it's everything, as like a platformer. But platforming in this game, especially kind of the more tricky platform sections where you have to wall run and then you have to jump off the wall run and grapple to a zip line, jump off the zip line to another wall run to this other wall run. Up, you got to double jump to reach this ledge, and then you got to double jump and then dash to reach this ledge. Didn't mention this, but Marin gives you a charm which somehow lets you go through force fields. And when you go through a force field, it resets your second jump and your dash. So you can dash through this green field, and then you got to double jump and then dash again to get through this other green field to double jump and dash. All that, it's very intricate, and I thought it was absolutely fun. I think it was very well executed. I really enjoyed platforming in this game. I am a platforming guy.
Right.
Yeah. Also, mounts. Jedi Survivor introduces the ability to use the Force to tame and ride wild animals. There are three different animals Cal can ride: the Spamel on Jedha, and then on and then the uh, Relter, which is like a flying slash gliding creature, and the Neko, which is like a little dinosaur almost, a little bird dinosaur kind of thing. It's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of a light mechanic for traversal in this game. I hope they delve deeper into it in the next one. In
I
terms of the
kind of
actual force ability of it, this actually
honestly, I
has existed in Star Wars before,
that is
and
true.
I never expected it to be implemented in games, but it's cool. It's a good idea.
I disagree. I think it was dumb, and I don't want it to be in the sequel, even though I know it will be. Because as you said, it's light. It's almost kind of pointless to even exist. Like it's sort of useful, I guess, in some areas of
Because it just
Kobo.
takes you from point A to point B, really.
Yeah, it basically like on Jeddah, you have this giant wide open desert that is a very large area, and spammels get you across it way faster than running. So I guess it's just to cut down on time. And the and the Nekos, I guess it's sort of that same concept, but in Kobo, none of the areas are really big enough to require it. The only thing is there are some hills that Cal cannot run up, but a Neko can. I guess that's cool. But whatever.
Excuse me. They also have a jump ability. Um,
Oh,
but I will
that
say
is the
that
thing.
those
They use it to
animals,
launch you up. Yeah.
I've seen them used for the speed running strats.
Oh, you know what? That's fair, but that's not for me.
Yeah, that has
Anyway,
nothing to do with the base game.
anyway, we'll move on. I don't know. It's there. It's like it's not poor. It's not. I would say poorly implemented, and there's nothing mechanically or just in terms of it working. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I felt like a little pointless. Noah, tell us about skills.
All
Well,
right,
with
starting in the additional gameplay mechanics, you have the skills, the skill trees. As you gain experience, you gain skill points. There are a lot of skills in Survivor, with three main skill trees: lightsaber, featuring every stance, force, and survival. You increase health, force, and unlock many different combat abilities. There are too many.
I agree. Each stance has its own little skill tree. So there's five there. There's three in the force. Like one focuses on confusion. One focuses on your telekinetic force powers, like lifting and like slam and stuff. And the other one is just general force usage, like increases your force and stuff like that. And then survival, like increases your health and healing abilities and stuff like that. I agree with you that there's too much. By the time I got the platinum in this game, I I still had I think like three skill trees that I hadn't maxed out yet because you do not have to max out all of them for the platinum. You only have to max out three. Yeah, I think it's too much. A lot of those abilities I used only because of the fact that you have to for trophies. But in general, I just didn't use most of the abilities you unlocked, especially with the different stances, because your I think standard combos really are all that's needed to get the job done in my experience playing the game.
Yeah, when
Um,
it's like overwhelming in the skills, you kind of just get set in what you know.
yeah, it's one of those things where you think having more options, uh, more abilities is a good thing, but then you get there and you're like, oh man, this is too much. I'll just take these three abilities and just stick with these because this is
What
a
I would
lot
have
to wrap my
done
mind around.
to make this a little bit better is to have three different skill points instead of having them all rely on one set of skill
Oh,
points.
okay. I mean, I guess I can see that helping because it was, especially at the beginning, incredibly annoying. I don't know if annoying or scary. We'll go with scary
It's just
for me. Just trying
overwhelming.
to, yeah, just trying to pick what I want to upgrade because there's just so many options, and
And then that's, I
I don't
really
know
feel
what
like
will be useful and
attributed
what
to
won't.
what like had me pick a set stance and stick with it is because like, well, I already have five skills and dual wield and double blade, so how can I switch now?
Yeah. I mean, and I honestly had kind of, I won't say the opposite, but I just like I focused on survival and increasing your force because those were always used. But again, I said most of the abilities I didn't really care about or end up using, like cross guard, which is the stance I used, the second most in my entire playthrough of this game. I like had beaten the story and was on exploration before I even got my first upgrade for that stance. Because at that point, because there are so many skills, I by the time I unlocked crossguard, I had reached a point where I was, had the thought of, well, I have to max out three different skill trees for a trophy. So I'm just gonna pick these three, and those are the three I'm gonna max out. Is basically how that happened. Yeah, it's too much. That's all I have to say on that. After saying a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, perks. New to Jedi Survivor, I'm pretty sure. Perks add additional bonuses to Cal, from increasing his blaster damage to increasing the size of his block bar, because the block bar does have like segments, and I don't know why, but it does. And like the first perk you unlock adds an additional segment to it, and more. Some of them have bonuses and drawbacks. Like one, I think it like automatically refills your force meter instead of having to use attacks, but it also lowers your total force meter in return. I feel like these could not exist, and it would have absolutely zero effect on playing this game.
I agree. I didn't really use them. Um, they don't really have a huge impact until you look at the ones from New Game Plus.
I honestly can't even comment on those. I don't know what they are. Um,
They have
see,
some really cool ones.
my thing is, like you said, they did not affect gameplay that much. You also have perk slots. You start off with 3, and there's a max of 10. You actually have to just kind of find the rest. And different perks take up a certain number of slots. Like the most one takes up is 4. It's one of those, pick the right combination of perks to max out your slots that you have available. Most of the perks I did not find useful, and incredibly weird to me, of all the perks I had unlocked, which there are 25 perks, you don't have to unlock all of them for trophies or anything, so I didn't. But I think when I ended the game, I had maybe around 15, and like half of the perks I had all had to do with the blaster, like increasing blaster damage, making blaster ammo go faster. It was all blaster focused, which was very weird. And since I did not use that stance, I obviously did not use those perks. I don't know if you noticed that, but
No, I
a
never
lot of
noticed that. I just
blaster,
never
yeah,
paid attention to the perks.
yeah, a lot of blaster specific focus perks, which I just thought was insanely weird. Yeah, like you said,
I
I
like
feel
the
like they,
idea
yeah,
of perks. We've talked about this kind of mechanic in a lot of games, and I feel like the problem is they just don't have as much of an impact as they should, if
yeah,
you're going to
I
have this
understand
type
that.
of thing. And it could be done better in the next game, so I don't want to get rid of them, but I just want them to be better.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about a big part of Jedi Survivor: cosmetics. Jedi Survivor greatly increases the cosmetic capabilities for Cal and BD1. In Fallen Order, you basically could change the color of Cal's poncho and change the color of BD1 and change the color of the mantis, and that's it. And in Survivor, you can actually change Cal's clothes, his jacket, his shirt, his pants. You can change his hair and his facial hair. And for BD, you can actually just straight up use different parts to change the look of his body, his body, his legs, his visor, his head. You can also change like his material that he's made out of, which is basically like changing his colors. That's all that is. And also, the lightsaber is even more customizable than the first game. You can customize every aspect of the lightsaber: the handle, the 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 emitter, the everything. I don't even remember what they're all called. There's a lot of stuff, Noah.
The
Um,
angle of the cross
the
guards.
angle of the cross guards, the same with BD, the material the lightsaber is made of, which again just kind of changes the color. You can change how old the material looks. You can change how shiny it is. And also, obviously, you can change your kyber crystal color, your lightsaber color. That's great. And another, cool thing, you do have all of the lightsaber colors that were available in the first game right from the get-go, from the very first workbench you find after you complete. I think after you complete the prologue, so you don't have to play through most of the game with only a few options like in Fallen Order. You get all of them from the get-go, which is really cool.
That is really cool, but I have to step out and complain that once again, there is not a red lightsaber
I care.
until you get
Um,
to New Game Plus.
yes. Also, the blaster has 3 customizable parts as well. I will say once again, too much. Also, for Cal's clothes, you have to find separate from the clothes themselves different shaders for the clothes, so you can still
That
change the
part is
colors of his
stupid.
clothes a bit. It's stupid that it's separate. I like the different colors, but why are they separate? That's the thing I don't like.
Right, but the huge increase in customization options is definitely noteworthy. It's seen. The problem was going through the game, you just don't find a lot by happenstance.
Yeah, it's the same problem of there's just too much, because you have clothes, hair, facial hair, BD parts, um, materials, lightsaber parts, lightsaber materials, which are different from the BD materials, and shaders. Like there's like 8 different categories of things you can find that you really don't find because there's no incentive to finding all of them. There's not even like a trophy for opening every chest. There's no incentive to finding them all. So even by the time I completed the game, and got my platinum trophy, I probably had less than 50% of all the customizable parts
Yikes.
unlocked. And yeah, it's just ridiculously. It's just too much. Honestly, most of my complaints with Star Wars Survivor are just too much. Um, Also for Cal's customization, uh, I vastly prefer just the color changes of Fallen Order because every time I would get a new color of his poncho in that game, I would typically equip it because I, for the most part, liked all of them. In this game, I thought most of the customization options were just not good. The jacket I put on Cal was, I think, the first jacket I found, and then I found a shader for that jacket and changed the color, and then nothing I found the rest of the game I thought looked better. Kind of the same way it went with his pants. I hated absolutely every hair and facial hair option that I found. I did not change his hair or facial hair throughout basically the entire game. Yeah, like I just did not like many of the customization options.
The ones you had.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I found, or I did not find, but I found one facial hair in here that I liked. He kind of had like a little goatee like thing with like what is an army cut, and that's kind of what I ran with the whole game. So my Cal Kestis was like very military looking,
Oh, okay.
especially when he had the Imperial uniform on in that section at
Ooh,
the end of the game.
yeah, that's a cool
So
section.
it was really cool. Um,
Oh,
and
also,
yep,
sorry, you keep going. I don't want to
yep.
interrupt.
Last one is I was gonna say that my our friend Kyle, in his version of the game, he had Cal with a long beard and a samurai ponytail hair tied back look, which is really cool. His was like a samurai Jedi, and mine was like a military Jedi, I thought.
See, I remember seeing the long hair look, the samurai hair look. I did think that was cool. I don't think I ever found it in my game. And like you said, a long beard. Like I like long beards. I would have equipped that, but again, I just never found one. Like just everything I found, I did not care for.
Yeah, everything I found was
Um,
random.
yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to Pyloon Saloon. So, a home base feature was added into Jedi Survivor in the form of Pyloon Saloon. Throughout Kobo, Cal can find interesting characters who join the saloon and provide extra content or bonuses. Some add new gameplay elements to the saloon, such as Bima and Tuli, Skuva Stev, and Pili, and some help find items on the map,
Cuba Steve.
like Paige and Toa. Stev.
I know it was a reference to Big Daddy.
Yeah, we all got it, and let me tell you, I don't know how I feel about that. I thought it was very distracting every time you run into him. So, yeah, we'll kind of get more into like the people a bit later.
I did not mess with this mechanic in the slightest.
Yeah, I know. I was very hesitant about it when it started because I thought, man, I don't know how I feel about a home base mechanic in Fallen Order because also in Fallen Order you can just talk to everybody. That's not
Survivor?
really a thing. God damn it. In Survivor, you can just talk to anybody in like that you run into. I don't know. I don't think that was the thing in Fallen Order because there's just a lot less NPCs in Fallen Order to begin with. You're kind of always just by yourself.
It's
Um,
kind of the mechanic where you could talk to your companions right off the ship that was in the first game,
yeah,
but it was implemented more like you would just randomly come across them in the mountains of Kobo and they're like, "Well, hey there." And Cal just has a little conversation with them. Yeah, I found it to be
yeah,
tedious.
yeah. It's whatever. I was hesitant about the home base mechanic, but I think it works fine. I did think a lot of the characters are really cool. Actually, and we will kind of talk about them in detail. I did want to say one cool thing I did like. When I say some help find items on the map, there are some that I mean, basically their whole existence is if you talk to them, it'll reveal an important location on the map. Yeah, and I just like that. Kind of saves you from having to just run around exploring because again, Kobo is a very large area. Anyway, we'll move on now to because we'll kind of I guess go more in depth with all the different people just as we go through the gameplay
Right, the
mechanics.
different
Hollow
mechanics they
Tactics,
introduce.
correct. Hollow Tactics, a mini game created for Jedi Survivor. like Buma and Tuli, or Bima and Tuli, they are the ones who run this mechanic. So Cal uses enemy scans and a limited number of points to fight a group of enemies used by the opponents. So we've talked before on the Super Gamer Bros how I hate when there are mini games in open world games like that you have to play. I hate when they are pre-existing games like Assassin's Creed 3 with Checkers and Nine Men's Morris and that other one. And I hate it when they create games such as Machine Strike and Horizon Forbidden West. This one is a created game, but honestly, I love this one. I think this is how you do it because, Noah, I'll explain to you how it works. Every enemy in the game that you have scanned, when you defeat enemies, BD1 scans them. The normal enemies, obviously not the bosses. They are worth
Boo.
points. They are worth points. What you do is you look and it's like you're going up against, say, Marin, and Marin has a Electro Staff Purge Trooper, a Scout Trooper, a Flame Trooper, and then you have, say, 9 points. You have to pick your group of enemies to fight hers. Say like an Electro Staff Purge Trooper is worth 4 points, so you could put 2 of those. Then you have 1 more point, and you can do, say, a Battle Droid, takes only 1 point. Or say you want to use 2 Scout Troopers, they take 2 points each, and then okay, you have 5 points. I'll use this enemy that takes 5 points, and then you're basically just watching NPCs fight. Like they straight up have the same
It's not
moves,
a mini
and
game.
no, you just watch it. Like you pick them. You have 10 like spaces you can put them. And again, it's of any of the random enemies you encounter in the game, even the wildlife like the scorpion things. You can use
Right.
an ATST.
Screetons.
Um, yeah, that's it. They take different points, different numbers of points, and also any points you don't use carry over so to the next round because you do multiple rounds of this. Um, so it is kind of worth it to try to use as little points as possible because then you can just kind of overload them in the later rounds if you have a bunch of extra points.
That
But I
does
actually
sound
really
really
like
cool.
this. It's very fun because again, it's just placing them and then just watch them fight. And it's always fun watching NPCs fight in games like this because the NPC fighting mechanics, they typically work against you, the player. But then when it comes to watching NPCs fight each other, it can get a little goofy. And that's basically all this is just pick your people and watch them fight. And I actually very much enjoy this. It's pretty difficult. It gets pretty hard, but
That is
I
really
actually
funny.
really enjoy this. Yeah,
Not
it's like
so
one of
funny
those.
is the gardening.
It's like one of those battle simulator games. I really enjoyed it. Noah, why don't you tell
Absolutely.
us about gardening?
Gardening is much more in depth than the first game. You find seeds of many different plants around Kobo of different colors and sizes, and then plant them in the rooftop garden of Pyloon's Saloon. You must work to fit plants in the limited space to unlock more space.
Yes. Now, Peely, you actually find her on Jeddah, and she's kind of like you automatically encounter her in the story, so you can choose not to talk to her, I guess, but she is kind of an automatic unlock. She's your gardener. You need her to be able to unlock more garden space as well. Plants also take real world time to grow. I think it takes like 45 minutes for a plant to grow all the way. And plants have to grow all the way in every spot of a plot to unlock the next plot, sort of. I don't like this. I hate this. I hate this gardening thing. I hate it. No, this also, I like that this episode is kind of going to be like my little guide to you with my little tips and tricks for getting the platinum in this game if that is something you choose to do. There are, I think, 10 different plants you can find. To unlock all the gardening plots, you have to fill out every spot in all the previous plots you have available, and they have to be fully grown. So I would recommend doing this as you're kind of going around exploring and doing other things because they take real time. I had every plot filled out and had not unlocked the last plot yet. And I just did not know what to do. I was looking it up, and nobody online really knows what to do either because different people were saying different things. But how it works for me is I actually had to look up the locations for it and find all 10 different types of plants before and have them growing in the garden before I unlock that last little gardening area. So that's my little tip to you for that one is find every different type of plant at least once because they also all have different colors for the plants. That doesn't really matter, but yeah, find each plant once. Gardening.
Oh, yeah, I'll talk about the bounty hunters. The bounty hunters come back, the Haxian brood bounty hunters hunting Cal in the first game they did not give up. They're back. Um, they come back stronger this time. They have a lot more. This time it's not encounters that repeat. It's specific encounters you find after the bounty hunters are introduced, and they introduce a sort of web of bounty hunters, and it's like you're taking them down and you're going towards the big bounty hunter at the end. I really like this idea. I think it's interesting. It reminds me of the mechanic implemented in Assassin's Creed Odyssey with I forget what they were called there. It might have been bounty hunters as well or something like that. But it was basically the same thing where you'd be hunted down by these legendary warriors and there was a hierarchy and you could go up as you take them down. It was really cool.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned the random encounters aspect of Fallen Order because that is something I think is a vast improvement between the two games. Is in Fallen Order, the bounty hunters, they're always treated kind of like mini bosses. And you randomly encounter them as you're exploring, but then they pop up every time you return to that same area. Like they do have their kind of set spawns, and they're just very annoying fights. Like if you listen to our Fallen Order episode, we talk about that and how both of us basically would just run from those fights because they just kept popping up, kind of annoying after a while, even though initially I thought it was a cool mechanic. So the whole like web of bounty hunters things improves upon this because they spawn once, you beat them once, and then they never spawn again. And there are, different they're like different people, and it makes more of kind of like a little side story aspect of it.
Right, it's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, because you encounter Cage, who is a retired bounty hunter who is helping Cal basically find and take out these bounty hunters. Like if you talk to her, it'll reveal the location of the next bounty hunter on the map. Although you don't have to talk to her for all of them. Most of them just are there. So yeah, I think it was implemented better. It's more fun, more interesting. Next, legendary adversaries.
Oh,
They're
and you
basically
didn't even
mini
mention the
boss.
fact that Boba Fett appears.
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to spoil that, Noah. I didn't know. Boba Fett appears. Okay, after you beat them all,
We
Boba
already
Fett
talked about the
appears.
whole story.
You don't fight him, but he's in it.
You don't fight him?
Well, no. How would you be able to fight him? Because this takes place before Episode 6.
Well, I mean, you could fight him to a draw like you fight Vader in the, well, you know what I mean.
Um, yeah. No. He just appears, and I guess you could say sort of helps you. It's actually a very, very fun scene that he's in. It's a very fun scene to watch. If you're not going to complete this game, I would honestly still recommend to anybody that you do the bounty hunters because they are one for the most part fun fights. They can be a little difficult sometimes, and yeah, I guess even if you don't want to play it, just watch the scene with Boba Fett in it because it's very entertaining. Legendary adversaries. There are many boss versions of many different characters, enemies in the game. This was in Fallen Order, but to a much lesser extent. There were only four, like Ogdo Bogdo and the albino Y-Shock. Only four different types of creatures had these. In this game, in Survivor, it's like every one. There's like a legendary adversary, super battle droid. There's a legendary adversary, droidica. All the wildlife creatures. Basically, every kind of uh, basic enemy type has a legendary version, which is just it has like a boss health bar. It's stronger. It's faster, whatever. I thought these are fine. Just kind of creating more mini bosses in the game for you to fight. Typically, they have different designs, maybe different abilities. They're fun. I really enjoy the legendary adversaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I liked them in the first game when there was only four. I'm glad they kind of continued that and added a lot more. I thought it was very cool.
Right, I just love boss fights.
Yeah. Anyway, Jedi chambers. They're small puzzle rooms set up by Santari Khri to prepare High Republic Jedi for navigating the Kobo Abyss and Tanalorr. Completing these puzzles unlocks perks. This is each one. I'm pretty sure unlocks a perk. Some of the better perks that I unlocked as I played through.
These are fine.
They are fine. You have to do them all for trophy. I encountered one randomly, like it was the first one I did. Well, you encounter one for as part of story, but then there was one that I did. The first one that I just found took me like a while. It was just a lengthy puzzle, which made me scared that all of these would be very lengthy puzzles, but they're not. They're actually not awful. I actually found like two or three. They're also, I will give them credit for being varied. It's not just the same thing every time. And even just in the fact that these were built long ago, you find I think like two or three that are kind of ruined that I didn't even realize until later when I was actually like looking up the locations of these that like I had done three of them, not even realizing that they were actually Jedi chambers that they actually counted, which I guess was fun.
That is fun.
Yeah, this is also going back to Pyloon Saloon, how I talked about unlocking stuff on the map. Toa is a person you find, I think her name is Toa, that is like a treasure hunter kind of, and or not that she like is a archaeologist is probably a better way to put it. She actually, if you talk to her, will point out locations and highlight them on the map, so you don't even have to necessarily look up these if you want. You can just talk to her, and I like that the game does that. Oh boy, now we're getting to the big daddy, Force Tears. Force Tears are additional challenges found throughout the game. They consist of both combat and platforming challenges, and let me tell you, Noah, some of these are a pain right in the ass.
I only did a few, but I really liked the ones I did.
Yeah, they can be hard. There is like a combat challenge for each stance where you have to defeat waves of enemies with a specific stance. Those are cool. There's one, it's really fun, where you have to destroy 150 normal battle droids. It takes a while, but that was a fun one. Just because they're like the
Because
weakest
you
enemy, so
tear
they
through
all
them.
die in one hit. Yeah, it's fun. There's also there's one oh there are a few of these that are hard. The platforming ones are hard. They are hard platforming challenges. Where I said, I really like the platforming of this game. This really pushes the platforming to its limits. They're very hard,
But they do a
but I
wonderful job
again
of
I
showing that, like, with the abilities they give you in the game, Cal is pretty much limitless in his movement,
absolutely.
especially
But
compared to the first game.
yeah, but no, let me tell you, if you have not done any of the platforming force tears,
I
they're
have
hard.
not.
They're very hard. The first one I encountered, I nearly gave me an aneurysm. I was just sitting there just thinking, oh my God, this is intense. But yeah, I did beat them all, and despite the initial appearance, it's one of those things that it's honestly kind of just trial and error. You just learn as you go. The combat challenges, no, some of them get ridiculous. There's one where you have to fight two rancors.
I've
Um,
seen that one, and I can't believe that.
Yeah, there's one where you have to fight Ogdo Bogdo from the first game and Spawn of Ogdo.
Also
Um,
insane.
in that one took me. I was up. Let me tell you, late one night till like 2:30 in the morning. Probably spent like an hour and a half, maybe closer to 2 hours, just trying that over and over again because it's hard. It is hard. I hate it. They have a move that insta kills you no matter what your health is at. I hate it.
Yikes.
Yeah, and like both of them have that move because they both basically have the same move set. And yeah, there's some where you have to fight like multiple of like kind of the more annoying wildlife enemies in the game. Uh, yeah, they're just some of them are just insanely ridiculous. These, I think, Force Tears are going to be the platinum killer for many a gamer out there because they're easily the hardest part of the game. Anyway, let's talk about collectibles. There's a bunch. So we're gonna just get through this because whatever. Cosmetic chests. They unlock the cosmetic items. Some need sliced by BD, which you already have unlocked, so that's not really a problem. Some need. No, I told you about these chests that I couldn't figure out how to work them, where they're
Yes.
red chests and they have like an antenna.
Oh,
Um,
electric charged. You just
yeah,
used
you
the
have
BD
to.
electric ability?
Well, no, you have to find the thing to shoot, like the I don't know what you call it, the electrical
Oh, like
port.
the battery?
Yeah, like it's not connected to the chest. You have to just find it in the environment somewhere around the chest and shoot it. Yeah, I had to look up how to do those because I could not figure it out as I was just playing through the game.
I'm amazed that
Um,
the game never tells you.
yeah, it never does. There's never a sort of tutorial of like, hey, this is how you open these chests. Um, there's the stim canister chests. Stim canisters heal Cal BD. Stores them and you activate them with the press of a button. The stim canister chests. I'll find them. I know when I entered the game, I had 11 stim canisters. I don't know if that's the max or not. Um, Force essences. This is a new one. You interact with these. They're kind of like just little floating crystals, you could say. You interact with these to increase. Some of them increase Cal's health. Some increase his force ability. Some unlock perks, some unlock perk slots, and some just straight up give you a skill point, a full skill point's worth of experience, which I like how it doesn't just level up your like skill point bar and just to a new level. It takes you it literally to the exact same level you had previously, but with another skill point. So if you were say like one enemy kill away from getting a skill point, it wouldn't just max out your bar and now you got to restart. It would actually take it all the way where now you have a skill point and you're still one kill away from getting the next skill point. That was cool. Force essences interact with these. Oh, sorry, I just read those.
You
Sorry,
just read
scans.
that.
Sorry, well, force echoes is what I was thinking of when I read it. Scans and force echoes both just unlock data bank entries, which is just lore stuff. Scans, BD, scans, just stuff. And force echoes, Cal interacts with these objects to get glimpses into the past. Short
I
little
like those.
audio stuff plays. Yeah, the force essences are cool.
Some of them
But
are
yeah, they
cool.
both.
Like there's some where you can hear Bode talking to Denvik, like where he's like, "Hey, I want you to
Oh yeah, the
protect
the
my
post.
daughter."
Yeah, the post game bode ones. Those are really cool. I found a lot of those. Yeah. There's also Jedi Scrolls, data discs, and priorite shards. These are in-game currency. The only difference between them is, certain vendors take one, and then also the locations they're found. Jedi Scrolls are found on Jeddah. Data discs are found in any Old Republic location, and priorite shards are found basically everywhere else. I guess also another form of currency in this game are the bounty hunter, like pucks, I think is what they're called. You just get those for defeating the bounty hunters and buy stuff from Cage. They're not really a collectible. You don't find them. And fish. Pylon Saloon has an aquarium. Scuva Stev, if his name didn't let you know in on it, is a diver and a fisherman. So after you unlock him in the saloon, you find him in just by random puddles of water in the game, and you'll have a short conversation with him. He'll dive, collect a fish, and that fish is now in the aquarium. Um,
That's really
that's a
funny.
trophy. That's a trophy. Yeah, it's not a bad mechanic. I actually found just exploring, looking for other collectibles. I found like 10 of the 12 fish. It actually is not very annoying to do.
Are they interesting, the fish?
No.
No, they're just weird fish.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, again, just kind of a random thing that offers nothing to you. Anyway, that's collectibles. There's a lot. Most of them you don't have to get for the platinum. You don't have to get the cosmetic chest. You don't have to get the stim canisters.
Right.
You don't have to get most of the currency. Actually, I do want to talk about. I guess we'll talk about the currency real quick. The only one you really have to get are priorite shards. You have to get 10 data discs to unlock a perk slot, because you need all the perk slots. But then, other than that, the only currency that's required is the priorite shards, because you have to find all 100 in the game, and slightly annoying. Noah, let me tell you again on my hints for getting the platinum. There are two priorite shards that you kind of have to know about. One is in the toilet at the saloon. Did you know that? Did you get that one?
No, I've spent less time in the saloon than anywhere else in the entire
Oh,
game.
yeah. Well, in the saloon, there's like a little bathroom with a toilet, and it's clogged. If you use the force on it, you get a priorite shard. And this, Noah, this next priorite shard is the thing that is also stopping many people from getting the platinum, because I don't know how someone figured this out. It is incredibly obtuse. Nekos. No, you know what Nekos are?
The little creatures.
Yeah, the creatures you ride on Kobo. Um, some of them have bright colors. I think they're called vibrant Nekos. Like something like there's like a red one, a
Sure,
purple
yeah.
one, like just crazy colors. In the game, you early on when you arrive on Kobo meet Mosey, who runs a stable. You can actually take Nekos and like save them as mounts in the stable. I don't know why you would do that. It's kind of pointless because they're literally everywhere. But here's why you would do that, Noah. To get one priorite shard, you have to take specifically a vibrantly colored Neko into this one specific spot in the stable. And then you have to go rest, because that kind of like resets an area, advances time, sort of like in Soulsborne games. Go back to the saloon, use the force lift on the Neko's poop, and there's a priorite shard in it.
Yeah, that's super random.
That's super random, super random. Nothing in the game tells you that you have to do that. No hints to it. But I remember like months ago before I played the game, reading an article that's like, hey, for all those people having issues with this annoying trophy in Jedi Survivor, here's what you have to do. Stupid. So that's Jaden's other platinum hint for this one. I did want to talk about that stupid prioritize shard thing. Anyway, notable trophies. Again, other than Force Tears, getting the platinum in this game isn't really hard. It's just a bit of a grind. But being a licensed game, a lot of I give Respawn credit. They're very good at naming their trophies and having fun trophy names and descriptions. For example, now this isn't pod racing. Travel 500 meters of distance while riding creatures. You'll just probably get that automatically because 500 meters is not a long distance. But Noah, the Star Wars prequel trilogy gets a lot of flack for its not great writing, and one of the memeable moments of that people have made fun of
I love it.
is it at the end of episode 1 when Anakin, little boy Anakin, is blowing up accidentally the droid ship.
Right.
He is escaping this blowing ship and he goes, now this is pod racing. And people make fun of that because no, it isn't. Like it has
It's
nothing to do with pod
definitely
racing. It
not
makes
pod
no
racing.
sense. It makes no sense. It's like, no, it's not pod racing. And people have been making fun of that line for decades. Um, and so this is again just poking fun at that line. I love it.
Yeah, I do love prequel memes, so
Yeah.
much so that I am a member of the subreddit, Star Wars prequel memes, and
Oh,
it
that's
is
funny.
hilarious.
That is funny. Yeah, and then again, just another clever one. Roadhouse. Obviously, I think '90s movie starring Patrick
Swayze?
Swayze, where crazy Swayze, where he I think kicks people a lot. I be honest, never seen the movie, but I did see the Family Guy episode that makes fun
I
of
think
it.
he, yeah, it's like, I think he just roundhouse kicked everybody.
And with the crossguard stance, if you because every stance has like a running attack. For the crossguard, it's straight up just a drop kick for some reason. In
Makes no
Roadhouse,
sense.
yeah, in Roadhouse, you have to drop kick an enemy with the mullet hairstyle because also mullets were a thing, I guess, back in the day, and I think Patrick Swayze's character had a mullet.
Crazy Swayze,
Um,
what was that a reference to?
How I Met Your Mother.
I thought so. What? I can't remember what scene
Um,
that is.
when Marshall's eating
Oh, yes,
lunch.
yes.
Yep,
I remember he's eating lunch
yep,
with that company and he's like, "Is
yep.
that Patrick Swayze?" It's like, "Who do you think's paying for this dinner?" Crazy Swayze.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
it.
really funny.
Yeah, we're cool guys. Anyway, yeah, so a lot of the trophy names are just references and stuff, and I love it. I know you've heard me complain many times about boring trophy names. Looking at you, Horizon.
Absolutely. I mean, just having a funny name for a trophy is showing that the developers are paying attention and not just putting up trophies because they have to.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I feel like a lot of developers do not like trophies, but it's nice when you get some that get that. Hey, these are fun little things. Anyway, now move on to our questions. Noah, favorite moments?
Oh, my favorite moments, I'm gonna have to say the fact that in the first game I had a problem that every time Cal would win a boss fight, he would not
Oh, you
defeat
like that
the
Cal's a
enemy.
killer now?
I do. I like that Cal finishes his opponents every time
Um,
they're kneeling and he just decapitates them, and it's very unlike Cal, but it's
no,
better than just running.
I actually completely agree with that. I actually do like that he actually does kill people now because it's like yeah, like you said, it's finishing it, making sure that they don't come back and potentially hurt people more and stuff. Like I love how the Ninth Sister returned because I feel like, especially with Cal killing her, is
And they did it
absolutely
in the prologue.
purposefully planned. Yeah, they did it when she appeared. Let me tell you, I was scared that she was going to be the main villain.
I was scared too.
Um, because I think again, even when we recorded our Fallen Order episode, and we talked about the fight with her, and he like force pushes her through a tree. I remember thinking, does that mean she's dead, or is she gonna come back at some point? And the game was very unclear on it. And I like Survivor, they are clear. Like, no, this guy's dead. No, he's dead. He's not coming back. He's dead. Now Cal cut his head off. He's dead. And like you said, he kills everybody. Like pretty much
Yes,
everyone he fights.
everybody he fights, he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, you tried your best," and then cuts them in
Yeah.
twain.
Uh yeah. My favorite moment, Cal and Marin, baby. Love it.
Cal and Marin, we all wanted to see it.
We all
Uh,
wanted to see it, and by George, we got it.
yes, absolutely. And it looks like they're going to be together for the next game. That's exactly what I wanted to happen in their plot in
Absolutely.
this game.
1,000,000%. They also sort of have a daughter now. Also wanted to say, I like Kata. I think she's really cool. I'm really
Kata
excited to
is really
see.
cool, and she
Uh,
really got over the fact that her father was murdered very quickly,
well, I think
and
she
just
was
like,
there that
let's
whole
go,
time. It
gang.
was it was it was a problem. He was a problem.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
like a hugely
yeah,
traumatic
yeah. She's a
event for
really
her.
she's a really cool character. I love just the little extra conversations I had with her. I'm excited to see how she kind of ends up in a third game. Anyway,
And she has the potential to be a Padawan of Cal's.
absolutely,
I
I'm
don't know if
excited
you
for it.
considered that, yeah.
Yeah, because I do wonder, with the third game, if there's going to be like another big time gap. It could be like 10 years or something, and Cal and
I
they're a bit
imagine there
older,
will
and
be.
Kata's like a rebellious teenager. Could be a fun little thing. I'm excited for that. Anyway, Noah, favorite boss battle?
My favorite boss battle is fighting Bode at the end. His
I
betrayal,
think,
I was really upset about it, and I just wanted to get him, and we
yeah,
did. But then,
yep,
they made the big deal out of it, like 5 different times. They're holding him, and they're like, "All right, we beat you. Give up and join us. We'll forgive you if you just decide to be cool." And then he'll like headbutt Cal, and he gets out of a headlock, and he starts fighting again. And I'm like, why, Bode? Just give up. We've beaten you like 5 times now.
no, I think, story wise and choreography wise, especially for like the cutscenes in between, a very 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 good fight.
The choreography
Like
for every fight
Cal,
was
absolutely.
amazing.
At one point, like Boach just punching the shit out of him, and he like that's at the point where you release your inner darkness or whatever. And kind of like after you beat the fight, when Cal's got him at lightsaber point, and then like he gets distracted and looks away, and Bo like grabs him and is like straight up just choking him out. And Cal like tries to hit him with
That's
his
what I'm
lightsaber,
saying.
but
It
Bo
was like
grabs his
intensely
hand,
personal, and
and
Kata's
then
just
he's
standing
yeah,
there.
and then he's like force choking Marin, and you could see Cal is super upset with him force choking Marin. It's just a very very great end to that fight. It's very very well done. I
It
really
was
enjoyed it.
personal.
Um, yeah, my favorite fight, if we're talking straight, just the actual gameplay aspect of the fight, was the second time you fought Dagon. I feel like you should have defeated him the second time. The third time, well, it did have that cool kind of force like visions at part of it. I thought it was cool in theory, but in practice, I did not enjoy that. Um,
No, it was one too
but
many. It kind of felt
yeah,
like the ninth sister
but
of the game.
the second time he was cool. It was cool. He had two lightsabers, even though he only had one arm, and he was literally using the force to control the second lightsaber, like with an invisible arm.
It
I thought
was
that was a
interesting.
very
They did a
cool
lot
thing.
of
Um,
force, or yeah, like a lot of force stuff with him
yeah,
that I've
yeah,
just straight up never seen before.
yeah,
And I think
and
Respawn, it does a wonderful job of taking Star Wars to the next level like that.
yeah, absolutely. And I like, as much as I don't necessarily like the inclusion of Dagon as like a major villain, I do think the conversations that him and Cal have during that fight are very cool because they're just talking to each other while they're fighting about different stuff, and I think that's cool. I do not. Again, by the time the third fight with Dagon rolls around, I feel like it's just already gotten old. But I did like the kind of conversations they have. They're like having with each other as they're fighting. Also, I do want to give a shout out to the Ravis fight. That one was very tough, and I did enjoy
Super
fighting
tough. I
him.
did like
Yep.
him, or fighting him. As a
Um,
character, it was super weird.
Yeah. Noah, miscellaneous things you like?
This is weird, but a miscellaneous thing I like and kind of don't like about this game. It's going to be taking up both categories for me.
Uh-huh.
This game is extremely difficult. I'm playing through, and I'm probably not going to go for the platinum just because of this. But I would get destroyed, and I went to turn down the difficulty, and I was already on the lowest difficulty. So that was a huge slap in the face to me. And I feel
Oof.
like this game is just extremely hard for me for absolutely no reason.
I agree that there are some hard aspects of this game. This game can be very brutally difficult at times. I want to say two things. One, quality of life improvement, fast travel. You can fast travel from
It's better,
meditation
but
points
not
to
good
meditation
enough.
points. Yeah, I think you should be able to fast travel to meditation points literally whenever you want. That's the only complaint
Yep,
I have. But the fact that you
exactly.
can
fast travel from any meditation point to another on the planet. Certainly saves a lot of time. Very, very cool. Thank you for improving that, Respawn. Also, with the saloon, it's a duo you find. I can't remember their names, but they run the little stage and perform music. He's a DJ droid that you find. And you can actually buy some tracks. You actually find tracks, I think some in chess. And then you obviously have a set of unlocked music tracks that are played at the saloon, kind of like club electronic music. Let me tell you, that music slaps. It is very good. Kind of makes me annoyed that you can't just have the music playing as you're just exploring
That
the
would
world.
be
You have to be
cool
in the saloon. But dude, that music kicks ass. I
for
remember at
no
one point I was just
reason.
yeah, for no reason at all. Like at one point I was just like had the game, I was just in the saloon and I was just I'm gonna pause the game for a second, not actually pause, but just like let it sit here and do other stuff. And I just picked up that music and I was like, dude, this song's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. Music is very good for not really needing to exist at all. Also, Noah, didn't like about the game. I know it's hard. Was there anything else?
Maybe just the tediousness of all the collectibles and platinum stuff and the talking to everybody in the plants, like everything, all those things, those aspects are not exactly difficult. They're just extremely time consuming.
Yeah, tedious. I think this platinum is a grind. Absolutely. For me, I had two things. One, side stuff doesn't matter. This kind of annoyed me because it's cool. I think the biggest example of this is on Jeddah. I only did this because you have to for perk slots. There are three little force puzzle challenges. They're called trials. Or no, they're called like Path of Blank. You do all three. You have to do them to unlock perk slots. And once you do all three, you unlock this vault in the center of the planet. That inside has a bunch of treasure, has a map unlockable. We'll talk about that in a second. And it's like this little side story of Cordova. Like you're following him because he solved these puzzles and went here as well. You actually get his like complete full lightsaber at the end of it.
I did
But
want
yeah,
to
it's like
mention that.
this.
I forgot that you can get the lightsabers from the Jedi in the game, and that's really cool.
Yeah, but it's like this really cool thing. Like the paths are interesting. Um, the like puzzles are interesting. Unlocking this safe in the center of the planet that you then have to like platform to and go down into is very, very interesting. But if it wasn't for the fact that doing the three paths unlocks perk slots, I never would have done it. And even then, you don't have to go to the safe in the middle of the planet because there's no perk slot there. There's nothing in there that gets you trophies or anything. And there's other areas of the game that are like optional to explore for the most part. Yeah, just very weird that like this cool little side thing that for all intents and purposes really doesn't matter. And I just kind of yeah, I don't know. I just wish they
When you
kind of
say it
made it a
doesn't
bigger
matter,
deal.
you mean like for trophies, or the rewards aren't good enough? What's the drawback?
I guess I would say yes for trophies and also just for like for how big it is, just you can literally just not do it. Like the three puzzles and then unlocking the safe. Like a lot of times I feel like in when you have something like that, there will be say one you do in the story, so you at least know it exists. But I didn't even know these things existed until I was getting all the collectibles.
That's true. The game does not do a great job of introducing a lot of side stuff.
Yeah, like I just wish that yeah, that side stuff kind of mattered more, like it's completely optional. You don't have to do it. There might be someone listening to this podcast episode right now that's like, what the hell are these path things? No idea. Who beat the game and stuff. Like you. Like you're one of those
Hey,
people.
hey, I
Um
did one of them.
oh, you did? Okay, never mind then.
I came across one by happenstance. It was one of
Yeah,
those
it's
times where I thought I was going the right way for a story. Turns out it was a side thing.
okay, I get you. But yeah, it's like I encountered a lot of cool side stuff that if you're not going for completion, you just would not encounter. And that's just insane to me.
All right, what about the other thing?
Um, oh, also the unlockable maps are annoying. So for BD1, you can find, I guess you would call them maybe upgrades. I don't know, but they
They
reveal
are called
important
map
things.
upgrades.
Yeah, they reveal important things on the map. I found two. One reveals plant seed locations, which I guess is useful if you're gardening. It's by the garden, just find it there. One shows like upgradable stuff. One shows collectibles. Like the priorite shards, the data disk, stuff like that. That one is actually in the safe in Jeddah that I was just talking about.
I didn't
mean,
even
the
know
maps
these
are
existed until I was looking up platinum stuff.
Yeah, the maps are cool, but a lot of them very obtuse and a lot of work to get. And I feel like it's too much. I feel like they either one should just be automatic or two should be a lot easier to get than they are. Because, by the time I unlocked that, the one that revealed like say the priorite shard locations, the treasure one which you get on Jeddah, like I was, 98% of the way done with the game. Yeah, cool. I have this map now, so I don't necessarily have to look up the collectible locations, but just so much work had to go into getting it that I just feel like even just getting into the safe, I just think, yeah, maybe just look them up. Anyway, Noah replayability.
This is a tough one. I'd say the game is replayable unless you're talking about like after 100% completing everything. Then no, it is a beat and delete. But for me, like I have not completed everything. I don't know if I'm gonna go for the platinum or whatnot, but I definitely want to keep playing the game. I think the combat and just going around and fighting and all of that is fun, and I can just keep doing it.
I think. I think I think it is a beat and delete. I agree with you that the combat and stuff is fun, absolutely fun, but I don't know. There's just, yeah, I just don't. It's just a lot. It's just a lot to the game.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This game is great. It is a great sequel. It is a fantastic Star Wars game. The choreography of the lightsaber combat in game in cutscenes is absolutely fabulous. It is an incredibly fun game to
Some of the
play.
best I've ever seen.
Yes. I have issues with the story, but I was talking to this guy I work with, because he had I think beaten the game, and I was still playing through it, and I told him when the Dagon thing happened, yeah, I said like they lost me with that. I'm not into that, and I was hesitant to play the game again, and then I picked it back up and just lost myself in just how fun just the gameplay is. Just running around platforming and fighting random enemies is just so fun that even though I wasn't really into the story at the time, I was still just thinking, well, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to keep playing this because, god damn, it's just so fun to play. So, all the props to Respawn. They have made a very, very good, fun Star Wars game.
I completely agree with you. I think it is everything Fallen Order offered and a ton more. A fantastic sequel, and I can't wait to see what they do with the third. I do think these games are some of the best Star Wars games of all time.
Absolutely agree with that. Anyway, guys, that's Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now we move on to the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games.
Yay!
Today we are talking about I Am Dead. As I mentioned last episode, I picked this game because it was short and the title caught my attention. I knew basically nothing about it going in. The game, you play as Morris Lupton, a recently deceased museum curator on this small island of name I can't remember. And basically the island spirit is getting upset. There's a volcano on the island that is going to erupt, and there is an old ghost who, I don't know if ghost is the right word, an old spirit, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, the custodian.
Yeah, that was keeping the volcano from erupting, but now they're getting tired and need a replacement. It is up to Morris to find that replacement with his dog Sparky. The way the game works is you basically just control the camera moving around these environments. You interact with stuff, and Morris has the ability, for some reason, as a ghost, to basically cross-section everything. He can like phase through it, and you see, like cross sections as you zoom in on the items. That'll show you stuff that's inside them and things like that. And basically you search through the memories of, you have to find these other ghosts to potentially replace the custodian. You search through the memories of people who knew them to find important things, mementos for that person. Then you have to use your cross sections of the environment to find that important thing. And once you find them, you can summon the ghost and, ask them to help. That's the
Before
game.
they refuse.
Noah, what did you think of I Am Dead?
Jaden, let me tell you about this. The first opening sequence is Morris walking on the beach, and I was like, well, actually, first of all, I want to mention that I Am Dead, just like every other indie bit since I've started doing it, is fully watchable on our channel.
I
I
mean,
don't
I'll
know
go
if
ahead
at
and
this
interrupt
point,
and
but
say, not now. Not now.
not
It's
now.
not.
Yeah, at
It
some
is
point,
not
but
now.
it will be.
It will be in the future.
And this game, it starts out with this walk, and I was like, God damn it, Jaden, another walking simulator. And then it immediately changes gears.
No, I'll say, just to interrupt you real quick, not only does it start with you walking on the beach, but it also might be the slowest walk in the history of
I
video games.
know. I was like,
And
oh
I
my
was
God, here
really,
we
I
go.
was really concerned when I started with how slow it was. Yeah, because I thought I had the exact same thought process that you did.
Yeah, but I said this to I talked to Paige about it, and I'm like, I'll be damned if Jaden doesn't keep picking bangers on these indie games because they're all very minimalist in terms of gameplay, but that's overshadowed by the fact that the story or world or whatever is just extremely interesting and pulls you in. I was very interested in the history of this island and its people. Especially at the end of the game, you go through the memories of Aggie, the island custodian, who is supposedly thousands of years old, and I just thought it was very well done. The game itself is very simple and mostly easy. I didn't have any problems finding any items or whatnot. I had to look up a few, and there's also some side gameplay mechanics that are interesting as well. For an indie game though, I did think this was fantastic. I had a lot of fun the whole way through. I liked how the memories would play through. I thought the art was very interesting, and this is just a great example of a, you know, easy, fun game.
No,
Uh,
I am absolutely shocked that you liked this game.
did you not like
Um,
it?
as I was playing it, like when I first played through, because it's very short. I think I beat it in 2 sittings. As I was playing through the first time, I think I was still in the first area, the lighthouse, and Haley was just sitting next to me, and I just looked at her and I said, "Man, Noah is gonna rip into me for this one. Oh my God, he is not gonna like this game." Because I thought it's not a walking simulator. It honestly might be considered less because you're just kind of floating through these environments and just interacting with stuff.
But there's so many things to look
I
at, and
did.
it will give you like little informational paragraphs about things here and
Uh,
there.
yeah.
And
Um,
I just thought it was interesting.
well, I do have. I'll say, I did get the platinum. In getting the platinum, you have to get the collectibles, find some random items. Like in every chapter, you have to find all of just a random item. You have to find all of the what's those things, those weird little creatures. Um, and then you also have to solve riddles. The riddles are annoying. The
Grankins.
collectibles, Grankins, yeah. All the collectibles in this game are annoying as hell. The Grankins are annoying because you have to find the item that it wants and then line it up very specifically to match a picture.
It
Luckily
tells
the
you when
game
you're
is
highlighting the item, though.
does it?
Yeah,
Oh, I
the
didn't notice that.
barks, when you are highlighting the right item that it wants you to shape, it
Oh,
will
I
start
didn't notice
ticking.
that. Okay, that's a little better. I'll okay. But you have to line it up in a specific way. I'll give the game credit for being very generous with helping you line it up how it wants
I
it
was
to.
gonna say that too, yeah.
Um, very, very generous. But yeah, those are annoying. You also know you probably did you ever discover the riddles?
Yep, those
Yeah.
I will give you are extremely annoying and you have to look those up.
Yeah, they're very hard to find, very annoyingly obtuse with the clues,
Are they
and
all like very close by to the where
not
the
really,
puzzle thing is? Okay,
not at
because
all,
I didn't know
not
if
at all.
because it
No.
would like have it like an objective, and then if you left that area, it wouldn't have that objective anymore, and I didn't understand that.
Um, and also you're timed in finding them, which
Oh
even
God.
using a guide and knowing exactly where they were, like it's tight sometimes because some of the maps are like bigger and take longer to traverse through. Yeah, the collectibles aspect of this game, not fun at all. I will be honest, not enjoyable in the slightest. The story, I did enjoy. I did enjoy the story. I thought the story was good. Um, it was interesting kind of exploring all these places and learning about the past and all these people. I guess if you want to talk story, my biggest complaints about the game. One, I'll be honest, I hate the dog's name. A girl dog named Sparky, and every time that like Morris would say like talk to her, just call her Sparky. I don't know why. I just thought it's just a dumb name. Every time it would just make me pause. Um, I also do not like Morris's voice. I think
Disagree.
whoever was the performer did a very, very good job. Performed very, very well. It is a memorable voice. Um, eh, eh, but especially just the way he would say some things.
You have a problem with the voice or the writing?
It's the voice. I guess you could tiny bit say the writing because again, he didn't perform bad. I'm sure he did exactly what they wanted, and the actual performer did very, very well. Yeah, just the way some of the lines are delivered, I was just like, I'm just not digging this voice.
I could not disagree more. I
Yeah,
thought the voice acting was what made the game. I did not
I mean, again,
skip any of the
it's
lines.
not bad. It's not badly performed. It's very well performed. I just don't like the voice. There's just nothing that can help that. It's not really even a negative I would say on the game itself. I just did not like his voice. Yeah, but I also thought that it is kind of weird with how detailed and rich these environments are, considering if you just do the story stuff, you will interact with maybe 10% of the environment of the game, which I think is kind of crazy.
That's true, but like, you're looking for things, so you end up looking at a whole bunch of stuff if you don't know exactly where to go.
Yeah, but even like all the maps are split into different areas, but the item you're finding is always in the area where the person
Yeah,
whose memories you looked at is, and typically it's uh
not
very
too hard
easily
to
found.
find, yeah.
I had to look up one my entire playthrough,
The Frisbee?
and yeah, it was the frisbee. You knew. Um, and there was another one that it took me a long time, but I was annoyed when I found it because I thought, oh, it's literally exactly where I thought it was. It's just I interacted with the wrong thing, basically. Yeah, but I think story-wise, it's fun. I think it's very interesting and it's very peaceful. I certainly don't regret playing it. I just think if you're playing this one, if you want a short but boy it feels long platinum, then go ahead and go for the platinum. But if you want just a good story, with interesting mechanics, I've never seen this mechanic used before, then absolutely give it a go.
Yeah, I would say
Anyway,
for me, what made the game was watching the memories and hearing like the story of everybody's lives and stuff, and kind of
yeah,
how that was done in those pictures that you're moving around basically.
uh-huh.
I just really, enjoyed that. And I found myself like when I was away from the game and I'd be like, I would think about it and I'd want to
I
play more.
gotcha. I gotcha.
Anyway,
All right, so that's I Am Dead. Noah, what is our next indie bit game?
Jaden, the next any big game I'm so excited to tell you is Inscription.
I know nothing about Inscription, but
That is great. You'll
all
love it.
right, cool. Okay. Um, so yeah, I have nothing to comment on that. I don't know if it's a good choice or not. I'll let you know in 2 weeks. Um, yeah, that's Inscription. That's the indie bit. Another successful indie bit for the Gamer Bros. We've done it again.
We've done it again.
We've done it again. Anyway,
A
guys, don't
successful
forget
episode.
another successful episode. Don't forget, guys, new episodes every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't. Tell us why. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast. You can follow our Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on episodes. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros. That is one word, capital S, capital G, capital B, period at the end, where the videos are uploaded every day.
Woo.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next game.
Bye.